Hello, welcome back to 1d8 plus 1. Oops, sorry. Tiger Isle, the Second City, 1d8 plus 1, and Dimming Sage Block 9. Today we're going to look at Rogue First Level. When I look at these class level installments, there are character classes here. My PHB has got pages that separate out. So let's go there, and let's say here. Put this on another paper here. That's Barbarian, and that's Bard, and that is here Cleric and Druid. Cleric and Druid. It's like building different fisher flies. You're trying to get an idea of, how things work without really, even though it's like not like my favorite class, I don't really treat it as like a dare. There's Rogue, and that's here, Sorcerer and Wizard. Now, some of these might be hard to see on my camera. There we go. And then that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. Just like that. But I try to see maybe what the thinking or logic behind the trap was. And even though it's like not my particular brand of fly for a fisher reel of design, and fly bait type thing there. And I probably wouldn't do something like that, but I like to look at those from time to time. And one of the ones we're going to look at today from that list was Rogue. And number 9 out of the classes in the PHP. And it is the Player's Handbook. And that's Chapter 3, the classes. Now the Rogue, I feel, there's the book here. And that's edition 3.5. Much like the Gate stuff at the time, where everything was 7.89.15 in an update, and instead of whole numbers in edition 7 or 8, but that just something of the time there. I'm gonna try to keep this up because again the limited character sheets here, but that's class and level. So we've got Rogue, that's our class, and our level is, let's go here, page 22, and that's here. So that's character level, and that's first, 0 experience, that's experience, but character level is first, so I'm going to write that down, right there, character level is first, that's character level, and I wrote down level underneath that, and first. So that's level first, and that is the Rogue class. What we're going to look at here is doing abilities, so I'm going to go ahead and write these abilities down. That's strength, that's the first one, and the next one, which is the second one, is dexterity. The third one down is constitution, and the fourth one down is intelligence, and the fifth one down, strength, dex, con, intelligence, wisdom, and the sixth one down, strength, dex, con, intelligence, wisdom, charisma. And there we go. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now we're going to look at that with the 20-point system. We just covered that in the last video, so this should be exciting. 20-point system, and I think I'm going to start with dexterity and not intelligence. I know rogues have a high intelligence. You can look at a comparison on page 62. There is the different skill ranks, and that's rogue at 8. Everybody else is like 6 and 2s and 4s. And that is a fairly complicated formula, but it's one that's not complicated. Just gotta watch your Leapfrog ABC mouse in it, because as soon as you get started in it, there's usually like 3 or 4 turns in the maze, and you'll make one, and exclude possibly 3 connections in there. And it can really change the flow afterwards of your character. So you have to kind of be careful. We're going to try to do that here. That strength and dex is going to be a little bit unusual, but there's dexterity. I want an 18 dexterity. Dexterity, a lot of different inputs here, and I'll come back to that. We're going to take a elf. At first I was going to do 18 right here. I just started to remember what direction I wanted that to go. Now, those are page 8. That's abilities. And strength, dexterity. Dexterity is an ability. And without doing anything, on page 16. On page 16, plus 2 dexterity right there. So the elves get 2 dexterity before we spend any points. So we're going to write that down. They get 2 dex here from their score. Then I'm going to put 10 points in from that for 10 remaining. And that gives us a 16 score. So we're going to add the 2 together. We're going to apply 16 to 2, like on a number line. So you're going to go 16 steps up, not starting from 0, but starting from 2. So here, there, that's 0, and then 1, 2. Now this was start beforehand, and that's an R. And now this is the start. And then we're going to go 16 steps from 2. So it's going to be 2 as the start, and then another 16 steps. And 16 plus 2 is 18. So from that, just like 6 plus 2 is 8, and then you're adding another 10 to that. So 10 plus 8 is 18. Should probably get my calculator there. And but that's what's going on. So now that's going to translate into an 18, and we have a plus 4 modifier. Now 10 points remaining, and we're going to take a 10, and that costs 0, so minus 0 points for 10 points remaining. And gotta remember here, that is Constitution. Elves actually take a minus 2 from that standpoint. So now with the positive there, there's 0, 1, and 2. And then there's minus 1 behind that, 0, 1, and 2, and then minus 2. So they don't even start at 0, they have to start in negative world. Yeah. And so their budget has already lost money before they even started with their company. So that's minus 2 in Constitution. And I'm going to correct for that, take out minus 5 points, and go to 5 points here. I'm going to give myself a 14 score. And 14 with a negative 2 start is 12 with a plus 1 modifier. And I am definitely going to get my calculator here. Oh, good. I don't go anywhere. And that's here. With some practice of base math, that can go for a ride. That's 16 plus 2, and that's 18. And from there, that is 14 minus 2, and that's 12. And then we look up the modifiers here. And we had a 12 score, and that's a plus 1 modifier. And we had an 18 score, and that's a plus 4 modifier. And we have a 10, and that's a 0 modifier. And so there we go. Just a bit of habit. And so from that, that's wisdom. We got 5 points remaining. And I'm going to take a 7 charisma. Now charisma is different because it's a different order of things. We have 5 points, and then A, we're going to subtract, and then B, we're going to subtract a number that doesn't start at 0. That's minus 1, that's minus 2, and it goes up to minus 4, like that. In my last video, I said like within Constitution twice was Constitution, Intelligence. It doesn't matter. So in that I mean it matters, but minus 1, minus 2, minus 3, minus 4. So we're going to subtract a negative 4, like that. So it's going to be, that's a minus and a minus 4. So that's what's going on there. The minus and minus opposites attract, that turns into a plus. So that's going to be a plus 4 points here. and that's going to be 9 points. Again, the point score modifier being off because of the two charts looking similar. Now that's 7, and that's going to have to look that up, even though it gave us 4 points because of the pity factor of taking a score that's under 10 like that. We're going to look up the modifier for that, and that's a -2 modifier right there on the chart. It's not that that chart's misprinted, it's just that there's two charts with some similarities that are getting a glaring similarity connection that it shouldn't have. They're not that similar. So when you look at that, that's a 7 score with them for -4 points, that they're giving you 4 points to your 20 points, and then you have 7 points with a -2 modifier, like that. Points are a number, which is a number off the scale, number scale, which is 4, and a number 2 off the scale, and that's point over, that's a P, and that's an M for modifier, like that. And they seem similar, but they're not. They're talking about two different spark plugs, or companies or offerings of spark plugs. One's Dodge, and one's Hyundai or Honda type thing. Even though they're both spark plugs, they might have different European, American 50, 60 voltage line. So they're not the same. They're both with voltage numbers, but they're not the exact same one. You have to get a converter and things of that nature. And this conversion, there's really no conversion between that chart. It really does no conversion. It's just getting forced conversion, so not to deal with having a need of a conversion. So with that, and that's minus what here? I'm going to update this 10 here in a minute. That's minus 5 points for wisdom, and that's going to be for a 14 wisdom. And then I've got 4 points remaining. I'm going to take minus 1 point and put an additional 1 point into intelligence. So that's going to be an intelligence 11. That's 3 points remaining, minus 3 points, and then I'm going to go to 13 strength. Now, 13 and 14. 14's got a +2 modifier, and 13's got a +1 modifier. So 14 in wisdom, 14 of 15, has got a +2 modifier. 13 has got a +1 modifier, and in that, a 11 did not make a different modifier for your intelligence. Now for a rogue, this is nothing near sense. But we're going to do this. That's strength, 13 plus 1, dexterity, 18 plus 4. And just like the points thrown away because they were near absolute reason, here we're finding that our different path is not going to find a different ability, but a different production of the abilities that we have. Yesterday, when we did it, we had 3 abilities. When there was a hidden ability in there, it's to pay for another ability having a 14 score in it without missing one. Today, we're going to do pretty much the same reveal within the production or maintenance operation of the character. It's going to find another hidden ability so that when you do so in a regular 20-point spin, it has more operation to it than its typical name placement might suggest at a table without enough servings. It really does have more excitement to it. There's not much weight to it. It's really easy to get into. That's +2, that's charisma, and that's 7, and that's a -2. So abilities on this page, abilities on this page. Now from this, we haven't bought anything, but we're going to. Let's say here, what do I want to look at next? I'm going to do skills next. So let's leave the center free for right now, and I'm going to do initiative. I'll do initiative as we travel across this. It's very complicated, but like I said, once seen, really not that complicated. That's first level, that's character level. And that's the second table there. That's 3-2. That's first. That's experience. That's column A, column B. That's 0. That's class skills. And we can have 4. That's 1. Your first level plus the rule of thumb 3 for ranks in 1 skill. And we'll get to that in a minute. 1 plus 3 is equal to 4. And again, some simple math. That's 1 plus 3. And that is equal to 4. And from that, that's column C, column D is 2, and then column E, that's column or vertical row. And here, that's your first feet, character feet. Just like that. Now, from your first character feat, we're going to take improved initiative. A lot of the other feats have a prerequisite, but that one is not a misprint. It just doesn't say one, so it doesn't have one. So, from there, let's see here. That is a prerequisite, and that's a prerequisite. On page 96, prerequisite, 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 and prerequisite and improved overrun, benefit. So no prerequisite, nothing required before you go into it. So that's a dash. Benefit, it adds a +4 bonus on initiative. Now, let's go ahead and use, very complicatedly, let's go use the initiative feat from our character feat. And in that, with that here, that's initiative check, page 136. And that's on page 316. That's an index here. And there's an index. And it said page 136. You can reference it on page 316, but it told us to go to 136 to find initiative. And boom. Yeah, that's right. That's initiative checks there. And at the start of the battle, each combatant makes an initiative check. That is on page 136. And that's vertical roll A, vertical roll B, first paragraph, second, third, fourth, fifth, about 5-6 paragraphs down on that side. At the start of the battle, each combatant makes an initiative check. An initiative check is a dexterity check. Alright. Again, this is some Sherlock Holmes elementary mentalist algorithm or reasoning, deductive reasoning. They did not leave that in there the way one would want to write it or has experience writing it. So now that's an initiative check, and that's a dexterity check. Dexterity is here on a character sheet. And that is dexterity, and that's strength, and above it is ability name. So they said a dexterity check, and a dexterity check is, since dexterity is an ability, we're going to call this an ability check. And from that ability check, there's page 304. And that's a check of D20. So that's A, that's D20, and that's plus, oops, that's 1 D20. And with the 1, that's a number of times that you roll it, and the dice roll. That's A, and that's B, so 1 time we're going to roll it, and the type of dice is a 20-sided dice. Or die type thing, and that's dice. And so there it is. So it's 1. If it was 2 of them, then the number would be 2 D20s, or 3 D20s for 3 D20s. Now, anyway, you might see the separation there, but that's an ability check now underneath dexterity. Okay, yesterday we left off with an ability check, or yesterday, continuing on. That is page 304. That's an ability check. A check of D20. So we write that down. And that is A. And that's D20 plus the appropriate ability modifier in dexterity. And for our character, we had an 18 dexterity and a +4 modifier. It's the +4 that is going to go right there. Now that's your score, and now you're going to take, and that's also B, and then C you're going to do a improved initiative. And that's also 4, just like that. So that's 4 plus 4 here. And that's 8. And that's d20 plus 8. So from there, that's an ability check, which is really initiative is based off an ability check, which is a dexterity check here. And any ability check has d20 plus 4 modifier from your dex plus 4 from your first level character feat. And so in this box here, from that is right here, initiative total. Now in that total, they do not have the d20 roll within it, even though in the game it's a d20 system. But they just omit that part. So the A is like an understood U. And that's plus. Now you have the B and C. That's B and starts with your dex modifier. That's dex modifier. And that's plus 4. And that's plus miscellaneous modifier. And that's plus 4. Okay. So, I think the overall character here. I think I have one going. Copying the character sheet here. That is hit point and armor class. That's touch and flat-footed, and that's initiative. And now there should be a d20 mentioned with it, which is your roll, and from that, that is not going to be in the total. They're just going to do the total. That's your initiative, so there's going to be a roll and then your applied bonus. So you're going to start with a roll and then you're going to proceed to an applied bonus. So that's fairly complicated in that that's here, and that's a dex modifier, and that's a miscellaneous modifier. And that's 4, and that's 4 for plus 8. So to give an example, that's A, that's your d20 roll, and then B, that's adding your plus 8 to C of a total. Okay, and that's our master sheet here. Write that down. And that's class, and that's level. Okay, now that level is first. Okay, that's XP, and under character level, that is the word level, and under level, the first number there is 1. So under level for here, we write 1. Alright, and that's page 49, and that's our class in there, like a Final Fantasy job, and that is chapter 1 abilities, 2 races, and classes, and that is rogue with classes, or class. So that is rogue class first, just like that. So we picked our abilities, and we picked our initiative, right there. And let's see here, that's initiative, and that's abilities. Okay, so from that, now initiative is usually like with the D20 there. And so somebody rolls 20. So now the max is 20, and then dwarf usually goes into 20, or sometimes they go into 3 or something like that. But really, we're still a first level character. Our level was the number 1, so that makes us a first level character here. And from there, we're going to do our D20 versus the max, or the central tendency on a D20 to be half that, 10 or 12. So now, calculating 70th percentile, that's percent and century, there's 100 years, and in that, that's 70 divided by 100, right there, to go to 0.70 in decimal form, or in that, that's also in percentage form, 70%. Fairly complicated. Now, what value of x of a 20-sided die yields 70% of the max? Since the max is 20 and we're looking for the value above that, we can use proportionality. Here, that 70 over 100 is the value that's equal to the number of sides on a D20 here that is going to equal over a 20-sided die. So now that 70 divided by 100, we know that that's very complicated to do. I'm not going to do 100 times x and 20 times 70 in that type of sense, because here on this side, that's 70 divided by 100, and that's 0.7. And that's 20 times 0.7. And that's 14. So it's 14 sides equals x. And that's 14 on a D20. Now, from that, we aren't going to... So now our central tendency on a normal curve, that's the peaks here. That's really complicated to get into. That's here, and that's a normal curve. That's the highest altitude on a normal curve. That's the highest peak. But really, you need to look at it from the side. Now, let's go here. That's from its side, and that's upper, control, and limit. And that's lower, and that's control, and that's limit. Okay. Now from that, so we've got several targets. In that, our minimum here is that the fact that we're going to keep rolling 1. Our 70th percentile, and that's 100%, and that's 90%, and that's 80%. Well, that really doesn't explain that either. That's a test grade, that's 100%, that's 90%, that's 80%, that's 70%, and that is an A plus, that's an A, that's a B, and that's a C. Okay. And that's a roll, and that's a 1. So now from that, that's a 1 plus 8 for a total of 9. On initiative, that's a critical failure. And that's a 19. From that 19, that is another 8, and then that is 19 plus 8, and that's 27. So at first level, that person's going to initiative 27. That's a 12 plus 8, and that's initiative 20. Now rogue has sneak attack. That's 12. And that's 8. And that's initiative 20. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And that's 15. And that's 8. And that's 23. Okay. That's a 19. And that's an 8. And that's a 27. And 7th initiative check. That's 17 plus 8. And that's 25. That's a 14 plus 8. And that's 22. That's a 13 plus 8. And that's 21. Now, on rogue at first level, it says that's sneak attack D6, which one could say that that's the only damage that you have, but we'll get to that. It isn't. Sneak attack 1d6 from here, I'm probably not showing. That sneak attack D6, that is with the damage from your bow. But in that is on initiative 9, 27, 20, 20, 23, 27, 25, 22, and 21. So now, with those initiatives, that's 9 plus 27 plus 20 plus 20 plus 23 plus 27 plus 25 plus 22 plus 21 plus 23. That's 217 divided by 10, because we went 10 times. That is a 21.7 average on initiative. So that's 10. That's a total of 217 from 10 occurrences or events. So that's 217 divided by 10, which is 21.7 average initiative check. So, making that choice with your sneak attack, you're pretty much guaranteed to always go above 20 to deliver your sneak attack, which is good on an initiative check when trying to sneak attack. Okay? Yeah. Now let's move on. And let's cover the weapon and sneak attack while we're in it. Actually, I still want to get, no, it's probably do it now. Now on page 14, page 16, that's elf, and their race gets bonus feats. That is +2 dexterity, and medium. Elf base land speed is 30 feet, immunity to magic sleep, low light vision, weapon proficiency. Elves receive the martial weapon proficiency feat for the longsword, rapier, longboard, including longbow, including composite longbow, and sharpbow, including composite sharpbow, as bonus feats. Elves esteem the arts of swordplay and archery, so all elves are familiar with these weapons. Like that. So from that, that race, they do that. So now on page 117, that's martial weapons. Kind of hard to see there. Axe throwing, light hammer, hand axe, kukri, light pick, staff, light shield on page 116 of the player's handbook. They don't get those for free, but they do get a longbow. Right there. Now, that's here. That's a longbow. They get that because they're elves in the way they practice that. A rapier here at the bottom of page 120 is here. It's a straight sword and not a curved blade. That's the Arabian sword, and a rapier, because of the way it sounds, is a French fencing sword, but it sounds like the scimitar in exotic nature delivery, so you might think they're the same blade, but they're not. But anyway, that's the longbow. Now, the rogue class, or job, that's their race. Their race is their blood. And their job, or class, is rogue. And in rogue, they have short bow. Now, from there, the longbow can be included in their tool set. So in their tool set, they have the weapon of their job. And in the weapon of their job, that's weapon and armor proficiency. Rogues are proficient with all simple weapons plus the hand crossbow, rapier, sap, short bow, and short sword. Rogues are proficient with light armor, but not with shields. So now, in their tool set, they have the short bow right there. And they have the long bow. And here, it's really hard to see, right there, there's sneak attack. And in sneak attack, you go down, right there, here, range attacks can count as sneak attacks only if the target is within 30 feet, or 6 squares. And a rogue can't strike with deadly accuracy from beyond that range. So in that, even though this extra damage is here, that's sneak attack D6. And you go to the range of 117 here, that's a ranged weapon. So now they said ranged weapons and range sneak attack. Okay, that's ranged sneak attack, that's ranged weapons, and that's a longbow and a short bow. Now, a longbow or short bow has medium on that. This one's really hard to follow. The first bullet, and that's first, on there is +2 dexterity for elves, page 16. +2 dexterity, -2 constitution. Now the second bullet says medium. So now anything associated with the plug-in value, like your damage, and that's damage, and that's a plug-in, should be associated with the size that's listed with your character. Your size that's listed with your character is small, because elves are small. And that is the word medium, right there. Medium to medium. That's your damage plug-in. So now you look up with your weapon the damage of that. Now that damage here is damage M, which is for small, which is medium. That's D8 on a longbow and D6 on the short bow. So for that medium damage, that's a D8 and a D6. You can do an extra 2 damage from that. And the critical of that is ×3. Now in that, that's ×3 critical, and from that, okay, now it's ×3 critical of that, so the range of sneak attack is 30 feet. And from that, that is a ×3 critical with a D8 weapon, because your race is elf. So that's pretty cool. And that's still at first level. Page 111 here is in that. That's rogue, that's 5d4 × 10. Now, that's your A part, and that's a line following that. That's 20, and then that's X, 10, just 200 gold. And that's 125 gold. And from that, that's average over max. 125 is not the max possible. The max possible is 200. So in that, you can take 125 divided by 200, and that's equal to 0.625. Now, times 100, 0.625 times 100 equals 62.5%. Okay, let's assume type thing, well, it tells you on the chart on page 115 in buying equipment, and that's starting, which is really hard to imagine. That's starting, which is at first level, and that's 0 experience. So that's first level, 0 experience. When you start, you have a starting character of first level. And in that, that's starting to start, and from that, that is a 200 gold max. And that's 125 gold average. $200 gold max, 125 gold average. That's starting to starting. Now from that, we're going to assume that it's going to be 200 max gold. And the longbow, that's going to be 75 gold pieces. And using a 200 max start minus 75 gold, then that's going to leave you 125 left over. From that 125 left over, you could buy something without an armor check penalty would be great. I would say probably a chain shirt. I'm gonna have to pay for it though later. See, I'll probably go with starting leather. Short sword is 10 gold pieces. I'm gonna buy a short sword real quick. Minus 10 for a short sword, and that is 115, and then minus 100 for a chain shirt. Now the chain shirt has an armor check penalty of -2, I think, but so does studded leather. It has a -1 armor check penalty. Armor check penalty goes in your skills, even though most of them don't exist in Pathfinder, so your move silent and hide actually needs to add a -1 to it. So in that, that's a chain shirt. I'm going to go ahead and do that armor class. And let's see here, that's armor class. Here, and that's a box equal to 10 plus an armor box. And that's 4 plus a shield. And that is a dash. And that's plus the dexterity mod. And that's 4. And from that, there's no size modifier, natural armor, and that's it. So then 4 plus 4 is 8, and then plus 10, there is AC 18. Right there. So now we can go back to our control sheet. Okay, now we're at AC 18, and the attack is another one that's difficult to do. When you deliver a sneak attack, although it would have been great to have point blank and precise shot at 30 feet, we have to use the character feat for improved initiative. That is on page 135. Armor was on page 123. And here, right there, is the range attack roll. So that's a d20. It's a range attack roll because you're using a range weapon being a longbow. And that is a d20 plus your base attack bonus, which is 3/4. Now that's 3/4 over 3/4, and that is same denominator. That's 6/4. That's 1 2/4. That equals 1 1/2. It's d20 plus 3/4 plus your dex, and that's 4. That's equal to d20 plus 4. So now the 3/4 is going to run down from 1 to 0 because it's not bigger than 1. 3/4 is 0, 1/4, half, 3/4, 1. That's not bigger than 1. So in that type of sense, that's just going to be 0. So it's d20 plus 0 plus 4. And that is 0 plus 4 equal to 4 plus the d20. So then you roll your attack, just like the initiative. You roll the d20 first, and then you add 4 to it. And that was a 16. So roll the 16, that's roll, plus 4, so it's going to equal a total armor class of 20. Goblin's armor class is 15. That's step A. That's B. Now, that's medium damage, that's D8. And if it was done silently, it's also going to have a sneak attack. Now, that's the arrow here. That there is the D8 damage right there. So let's go here and take the rate there, roll an 8 there. That's here. That's the arrow hits. That's the actual damage. If you look up longbow here, that's longbow, order 75 gold, d68 times 3, 100 feet, and piercing. So that is right there. So the damage, first part of the damage, is piercing. And that's a d8. Now you roll that in that, and then from there you roll the sneak attack damage. And that's 7. Then sneak attack is the same thing. That's a d6, and that's a 1. So now that's 8 total damage. That's 7 plus 1 equal to 8. Didn't roll a critical on the short sword, so if I want to, or on the longbow, if I want to critical that, the normal damage is 8 divided by 3, which is 3 1/3, 3 and 2 2/3, something like that, which it isn't. The normal damage is 8, that's normal, and the critical damage is times 3, which is resolved there as 24. Right then and there. So from that, then that would have been 24 from piercing damage, and then the extra, that's the start, and the extra damage from the sneak attack is 6, which can't be critical, and so 24 plus 6 is, plus 6 is 30. Okay, now, so far, done all these things, and I don't remember where we were. So now, that's a d20 plus 4 attack, right then and there. So that's the range attack roll, which is not taken over by improvised weapons. And that's here, on page 114, right there. An arrow used in melee weapon is treated as a light improvised weapon, -4 penalty on attack. So now, that's A, that's melee, and that's improvised. And that's B, and that's ranged. And that's right. So now, from that, that's that part. And that's your, now you have to go to your skills. Now from your skills, you've got 8 plus 0 times first. Your intelligence is 10, and you have a 0 modifier. The 0 goes right there with the intelligence modifier. 8 plus 0 is 0. So it's 8 plus 0 is equal to 8. That's 8 times 4, which is 32 ranks. Now, 32 ranks, that's your first level, plus 3 is equal to 4 ranks. Now, from that, no thanks. Which your chart says, which it doesn't. It doesn't say that, which it does. Now there is the one for the feet, and this is the class ranks one here on page 22. It's not the first table, but it does have the answer. And from that, same thing can be found on and there, and in that type of thing, that's character's new level plus 3. And that's 32 ranks divided by 4 ranks per skill. And skill is going to flip, and ranks are going to cancel out. So it's 32 ranks, and that's going to be divided by, really, it's going to divide it by 4. Same thing there. And then the 4 is going to go to the bottom. So it's like times 1 over 4. That's 4 over 1. And then skill over ranks. Then ranks are going to cancel. Then 32 divided by 4. 8 separate skills. So now, on the road, let's see, class skills. That's appraise, balance, bluff. That's 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. That probably won't prove it. That's appraise. That's 1. That's 2. That's balance. That's 3. That's bluff. That's 4. That's climb. That's 5. That's craft. That's 6. That's decipher script. That's 7. And that's diplomacy. That's 8. And that's disable device. That's 9. And that's disguise. That's 10. And that's escape artist. That's 11. And that's forgery. That's 12. And that's gather information. That's 13. And that's hide. And that's 14. And that's intimidate. That's jump. That is knowledge local. That's 17. That's listen. That's 18. That's move silently. That's 19. And that's open lock. That's 20. And that's perform. It's 21. And that's profession. That's 22. And that's search. And that's 23. And that's sense motive. And that's 24. And that's sleight of hand. That's 25. And that's spot. That's 26. And that's swim. That's 27. And that's tumble. And that's 28. That's use magic device. That's 29. And that's use rope. Okay, we're going to do 8 of those. Now, if we put 1 in each, we couldn't handle that and had d20 plus 1s, which is better. Now here, and maybe 2, d20 plus 2, or to take more focus in 8 skills, even though giving up other skills, that's d20 plus 4. So now we can have 29 skills at d20 plus 2, or can have some skills, 8 skills at d20 plus 4. And that's bigger. Even though it's a smaller selection of skills, those skills that we selected will be better. So from that, that's what we're going to do. Now from that side, you should take the ones dealing with your abilities, but sometimes you just don't get a choice. So we're going to do move silently here. And from that, that's move silently. And at the bottom, that's here. and that's armor check penalty there. Armor check penalty if any applies, double penalty for swim. That's an asterisk. That asterisk goes behind your skill set of move silently with dexterity. So if you have armor with -2 on, which we do, we have a chain shirt, then we put a -2 in that skill. Now in that skill, that's D20 plus skill modifier. And that modifier has exactly what is at the top. Your skill modifier here has ability modifier in it. That's A. That's B for ranks. And then a miscellaneous modifier. We don't have any feet in it. So then from there, that is 0 there. Ranks was 4. And ability modifier for move silently. Actually, we do have a miscellaneous. We have our -2 armor check penalty. And our ability modifier is the 18 dex with +4. So you drop 4 in there. So now 4 plus 4 equals 8 minus 2 equals 6. And that's D20 plus 6. Now, from that, that's D20 plus 6. An elf's +2 racial bonuses on listen, search, and spot checks. An elf who merely passed within 5 feet of a secret or concealed door is entitled to a search check to notice it as if she were actively looking for it. An elf's senses are so keen that she practically has a sixth sense about hidden portals. +2 racial bonus on listen, search, and spot checks. Period. Here. So they get a +2 racial bonus on listen, search, and spot checks and skill. So those listen with D20 plus 6s and search and spot should be D20 plus 8 at first level. So in that, the overall of your character, which I wrote on here, for rogue, first level, and gonna do have strength 13 plus 1, dexterity 18, constitution 12 plus 1 and plus 4, and that's intelligence 11 plus 0, and that's wisdom 14 and plus 2, and charisma 7 minus 2. And then that's armor class, and that's 18, and that's initiative, and that's plus 8 equal to plus 4 with plus 4, D20 of plus 4, plus 8. And that's all at first. That's a sneak attack of a D6 which with trap find. And with that was a longbow with a D8 here with the plus and times 3 critical. And so far, an attack of D20 plus 4. And from there, that is now the skills with that. And that's all at first level. Now to move silently, add D20 plus 6. And let's say, what was our other skills here? That was one skill that we took. Gonna take hide, and hide has an armor check penalty, same dexterity modifier. So that's hide, our first skill, and our second skill at D20 plus 6. And I would say climb. Climb in a position that's here on that. That was move silently here. And right there, that's move silently here on a class skill list. And that's high on that, which is right. And that's climb, which doesn't exist. That's an armor check penalty. So it's climb. That's a D20 plus D20 plus 4 ranks plus 1 modifier from strength, and that is -2 for armor class, so D20 plus 3. Okay. Probably gonna need balance with dexterity. That is a d20 plus 6, and that's here. And knowledge local, that has no armor check penalty, is d20 plus 4 ranks with no intelligence modifier, so d20 plus 4. So that's knowledge, and that's local. And in that, and let's see, can I listen? That's a d20 plus 4 plus wisdom of 2, and listen has no armor check penalty. So now that's a d20 plus 6, and that's spot, and that's a d20, and that is plus 6 as well. And do they have search? Yes. And that's d20 plus 4, and in that, and that's plus 6. Now, that's what a first level character can do in Rogue. Their potential damage on a 20 would be 30 as like a max, but on average, we didn't roll that like the initiative checks. We had an initiative check of 21.7 for average there, and we have armor class 18. Hit point is going to be 6 plus 1, and so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sides on a d6, which there isn't. In that, then you have to roll that. That's 1, that's 2, that's 3, that's 4, that's 5, and that's 6. Now that's 6 sides plus 1 modifier, and that's 7, like that. So it's 7 and 18, that's initiative, that's attack, that's skills, and that's abilities.